Thank you for joining us for the June 2026 meeting of the University of Cleveland. And now that you're all seated, we are going to go into closed session to cover some matters of that we're allowed to do so under a closed session. So, is there a motion to go and closed section in the Beehive Room of the Alumni House for the purpose of discussing the purchase, exchange, sale, or lease of real property or the proposed development of land owned by the university?
So moved.
Thank you, Jamie. Is there a second?
Second.
Kurt.
I didn't get any of them today. Oh, thank you.
We have a motion and a second to close the Board of Trustees meeting. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We will move quickly for the Board of Trustees to move quickly to the Beehive Room, and we'll handle our business there. Good. Now we go. Openly and transparently pursuant to the Utah Open and Public Meetings Act. We welcome members of the public and our university community who'd like to attend and observe this decision-making process. I want to welcome, so we have is and TJ.
TJ, are you here? I believe they have.
Oh, okay. Well, we appreciate the interest of
They're watching.
of UG. Yes, they are. I'd like to welcome Erica Stream. She's our new trustee and the student body president. We're right here to review campus and is studying psychology and strategic communication.
Yeah, high five.
She previously served as chair of the ASU Events Board, serves as events director for women in investing in the School of Business, and is a member of the Cabinet Board. So welcome to your first meeting, where you look forward to working with you and appreciate your representation at the university. I think we are excusing Kathy Garr today. She had an unavoidable commitment, and I think everyone else is present. So appreciate it. We have a forum. We'll move right on to general consent. Meeting materials were posted last week. I appreciate the efforts that the board puts into reviewing those items and preparing for this meeting. I do want to highlight one item, number 3.09, Institute status for the Huntsman Mental Health Institute, just to give a little clarity on that background. Of course, we've been institute in its name already, and why they've used that name since its beginning, it has not been formally recognized as a university academic center or institute under our university policy. So to carry that designation, a center or an institute must be formally approved, and it must be governed as an official academic unit with defined structures, oversight, and review processes. So by way of a little background, HMHI is an entity with a 40-year legacy that began here at U with the Department of Psychiatry. Then the Western Institute of Neuropsychiatry, and the University Neuropsychiatric Institute, and it's now the Huntsman Mental Health Institute, after a generous gift from the Huntsman Family Foundation in 2019. HMHI has demonstrated a strong fit for the formal institute designation, showing a commitment for fostering collaboration with faculty across both the U and across USHE, advancing research and training health professionals. So all the groundwork has been laid to come to this board for approval. It's been reviewed by the UACI Coordinating Committee and the Council of Academic Deans, and was approved by the Academic Senate. So with that background on that particular item, we will approve the items on full general consent. We have a motion. Good chance. Thank you for the motion, and thank you. Any debate or discussion? If not, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you for support on the items of the general consent agenda. Now I'd like to invite Heidi Blueberry, Vice President of Advancement, to present our report on it.
Good morning. We received really a generous gift from Julie and Lloyd Hanson, $1 million gift, and we're here to seek formal approval for a naming in honor of that gift. We'd like to recommend naming the locker rooms, the Julie and Hanson locker rooms in the youth sanatorium.
We always like to do that. You always bring happy news.
It's always good news. Isn't that wonderful?
News from our great alums and our great supporters. Is there a motion to approve naming the Julie Aiken Hanson locker rooms in the youth auditorium?
Something.
Thank you, Kurt. Is there a second? Thank you, Karen. We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Heidi. Come again. Okay. Now, item number 4.02, which is a new degree in artificial intelligence. I'd like to invite Vivek Srikumar, Associate Professor of the School of Computing, to present.
Hey, good morning, folks. I'm here to seek approval for this proposed degree in artificial intelligence. AI, of course, is in the news, as some might have noticed. And the goal of our degree is to train our students in foundational technologies that support AI and also how to use it effectively and ethically. This degree is going to be funded by a successful proposal to USHE Engineering and Computer Science Initiative to expand our course offering. We've assembled an industry steering committee with members from NVIDIA, Google DeepMind, L3 Harris, and a couple of places I can't remember now, quite a few places. And we have broad support from various campus units. Like I said, AI is not, it's in the news now, but it's not a new field. It's been around since 1956. There's a little plaque there that talks about the origin of the field, the name in 1956 in a small conference where they plan to wrap up AI in 5 years. The U has a strong history with AI. We started offering our first course in AI in 1973. There's a catalog entry there which talks about the course, the various things that are being taught in the course, and all of those things are now entire subfields in the discipline. There's a huge market demand and it's been growing. And there's no program in the university that targets this particular demand. There are BS AI degrees in pretty much many of our peer institutions. This is a map from, I think, 2025. And the list is growing. And so the proposal is to include an AI degree in the College School of Computing.
Yes, especially that in terms of over the coming 5 years, how do you see as a confluence of computer science and AI? What do you see happening in terms of overlap between these computers?
So there is a strong overlap. AI is sprung out of computer science, but as a discipline, AI includes certain things that are not necessarily in the rest of computer science. Like, for example, it interacts more interestingly with other domains. Directly, computer science is a more technical thing. But the core ideas of computer science support the AI enterprise. In particular, to kind of address this one comment of this thing about this degree, we are designing a new course that essentially uses core computer science ideas. And it talks about how to build, deploy AI systems. We're calling it AI systems. And that is a place of very strong intersection. It's a unique course that I think none of the other places offer. And we are building it with someone using materials, for example, that was developed by places like Anthropic. The fundamental ideas of computer science are necessary to scale up, to keep it for robustness and so on. But AI brings interactions with other parts of campus, for example, that is not naturally there in the technical part of computer science. Does that address your question?
that's less technical. I was actually wondering. CS students today. Actually, where. This. That, it's really something but. It's sort of a trendy, CS light, kind of degree, or how do we have it stand a little bit, so. Sort of rigorous.
So-
rigorous degree.
This is definitely not a CS light degree. If anything, it's CS heavy. If that's the right phrase, because this degree needs a lot of what is in core computer science, plus a lot of math, plus a bunch of humanities or ethics and so on. So it builds on top of the CS. I didn't mean to give the impression that this was going to be a lighter version of it. Certain parts of computer science might not be in the path to the degree, like architecture, for example. So we had to remove those to make room for courses like NLP and computer vision and so on. But it turns out students can only do an undergrad degree for 4 years. But it's definitely not lighter. There's going to be demand. We expect growing demand in AI, but also it's not going to cannibalize. We don't expect that it will entirely cannibalize the existing CS student body. Thank you. Thank you.
Questions with that? Thank you. I love seeing us out on the forefront of these new studies and new technologies and new industries that we need to stay current and relevant for the future. So thank you. Take that. Is there a motion to approve the creation of a new Bachelor of Science in Artificial Intelligence? Thank you for the motion. Is there a second? Thank you, Christina. Motion and a second. Any debate or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, oh yes.
Oh, sorry.
That was so cool. I'd like to invite Jenny Andrus, Chair of the Department of Writing and Rhetoric Studies, to present 4.03 on a new degree, the workplace writing and emerging technologies.
Good morning. I want to introduce Maureen Matheson, who's also my colleague, who's also here with me. We're going to talk about our new professional MAMS in workplace writing and emerging technologies. And I just want to note that the correct title or name of the program is workplace writing. We had it as, oh, it's right there. Okay. We just had it voted in by the executive committee on Monday. So there's a constant changing landscape of employment needs and expectations that require a nimble workforce that's able to accommodate change quickly, efficiently, and effectively. This degree program is intended to meet the needs of that workforce. It's a 30-hour credit program, an entirely online professional degree program, so that people can take it who already have full-time jobs, who might need or desire to have more knowledge about writing, but especially writing in the age of Gen AI, generative AI. Coursework in key areas. It prepares students for ongoing work in what they're doing. It will also prepare students who are interested in getting a new degree. They finish their bachelor's degree, they can see the workforce. They want to join the degree. Also online will help them as they work toward joining the workforce, and also gain these new skills. So there will be a particular focus in emerging technologies, particularly Gen AI at the beginning. Coursework in key areas include workplace research methods, information architecture, ethical decision-making, and writing with emerging technologies, which is particularly important as we train master's students. We've thought a lot about how Gen AI might impact writing for undergrads. We want to think about how that might impact writing for master's students. Which has sort of, and PhD students, but how that's we don't know that much about that yet. So that's one of the things we'll learn as we work in the program. The degree, like I said, is targeted toward Utah's working professionals, current students, but also people across the country. So because we have the online component, we can draw students from across the country. There are very few similar programs. Some professional technical writing programs, but none that we could find that are adding this AI component like we are. So writing is perhaps the most important, one of the most important, we think the most important durable skill. It's transferable across fields and careers. And so we find writing not in, people don't take writing because they're gonna be writers necessarily, although they may, but because they're in marketing, they're in PR, they're in a corporate job. There's lots of ways that writing is used across multiple careers. And if students have this transferable skill, it's easier for them to move across jobs as they move through their careers. This degree is targeted toward working professionals and students going, it can also be used for students who are going to go on to advanced degrees. So they may want this MAMS professional degree. They get here, they love the university, like all happened to me. I got my undergraduate here, to be honest, and I never wanted to leave, and I have never left. Except to get a PhD and then come back. So students who might want to go on for advanced degrees would also be interested in this program.
Yeah, I think Jenny is highlighting an important thing that I think based on the video was saying. Excellent that Utah is creating the tools for the scalability of AI with their BS degree. What we want to do is make sure that this tool is implemented in the workplace well. It's not something, what we're seeing on campus so far is that people are, and I would say just even going to national conferences, what I've seen is people are being told they have to use AI. No one knows exactly how to do it.
What's that mean?
Yeah, and particularly in terms of writing. We've always been invested in different tools for writing, and this is clearly going to change the way that people do things in the workplace. We want to make sure that people are able to meet the standards of the workplace in which they are, right? So
In an ethical way.
yes,
Yeah.
in absolutely an ethical way. We have an extremely strong job market in this state. And it's increasingly valuable across all sectors. We're expecting growth between 26 to expand by 26% between 2022 and 2032, far outpacing the national average of 40%. Based on local job postings, Utah employers rank writing skills among the most durable or desirable workplace abilities. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, writing jobs are expected to increase from 2023 to 2033. Some of the areas that we already at the undergraduate level, but expect this degree to enhance students' job opportunities are for medical writing, instructional design, marketing, grant writing, technical documentation, architecture, hospitality, education, IT, sales, corporate communication, and scientific research.
So the average salary for writers in Utah ranges between 55,000 and 90,000 a year with a median of 75,000. Regional is a tiny bit better than that. National is about the same as Utah. Grade DI says that wages increase for those. Have any of you used Grade DI? Can we form a support group? So Grade DI, according to Grade DI, wages increase for those with master's degrees more than 60K over people with a BA or a PS. So when combined with other durable skills such as problem solving, effective communication, and ethical decision making, this technological literacy prepares individuals to adapt, lead, and thrive in the evolving landscape of workplace writing.
Feel that being the landscape guys. Take the floor just for a second. I think this is brilliant. Let me maybe having these with the guy. Very good. Certainly not going to be the name degree because there are potential reasons for
Yeah. Only because we're teaching other courses that are like that UAX, UIA, what's it called? Thank you. And as we wanted to leave it capacious, right? As the new technologies come into play that will impact the workforce, we want to include those as we move on.
Thank you again. I love that. How do we reach our alumni? How do we reach professionals already out in the workplace and continue that if we put it so. Very important. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And so is there a motion to approve the creation of the new masters in workplace writing and emerging? Thank you, Jamie. Is there a second? take this out. We have a motion and a second. For approval, from standard discussion. None, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we will go to item 4.04, print mail and receiving services building, and I'll invite Jim Blabright, Chief Operating Officer, to present.
Well, I want to continue the theme of good news. It feels like a good news meeting. We are excited to continue talking about and making great headway and progress on College Town Magic. And so while this is about printing and receiving, I just want to note that this is really an effort to deliver on our promises around College Town Magic. So we're talking about the area just west of the Huntsman Center. There is currently a building there called the Turpin Building. It used to be the edge of campus. And so many of our back of house services have historically been there. Over the last year, we've moved a lot of those out. So our facilities group run by Jim Russell has moved out. We moved our fleet services. And the last piece of the puzzle is our print, mail, and receiving business. And before you ask me the question, yes, we are still in the print, mail, and receiving business. So I'll give you a little context for that as well. This is an auxiliary business. We're not Jen Reed's birthday today. She would be here presenting. So happy birthday to Jen Reed. Her and her group do a great job. But grateful to have Nate Virgin, who runs our operation over there, with us here today for any additional questions. Let me just give you a flavor for the business, and then I'll let you know, kind of share with what our ask is. We do printing operations. So last year we printed over 8 million pieces. There was 11,500 orders for print. That would include wayfinding, building graphics, signage, lots of things that we do around campus, student research posters, et cetera. We also do mailing operations. So the U.S. Postal Office still delivers mail to campus. So we receive all that distributed throughout campus. And we also manage the print services for a lot of campus. So that's managing about 350 print devices. Maybe most important is our receiving operation. So our receiving operation receives all the large packages, equipment, freight, there's short-term and maybe long-term storage, and then we coordinate that shipment around campus. So that's really our print, mail, and receiving operations. Our ask today is to move this operation out of what is maybe considered now the center of campus, and move it again to what is now the periphery of campus. So we've done some great work figuring out where that should go and finding the highest and best use of land. We did study several places around campus, as well as Richard Park. We considered moving it off campus. I wondered if that would be an opportunity. But we found a great location, which is on the north end of the West Village. So we have some new married housing, grad housing over there. We already have a facility over there. And we feel like this would be the appropriate place for that based on the work that we've done. This gives us a little bit of room to grow over there. And we have some other back of office or back house types of things over that direction. This is a building that's about 31,000 square feet. If we do a second floor, there would be an additional approximately 20,000 square feet. The department has about 36 employees, and we anticipate that this building would receive anywhere between 8 and 15 trucks a day. Conscientious of the fact that is our graduate and married housing, but those trucks are currently operating for the most part, visiting those facilities, and we anticipate that would increase slightly. So we have the budget identified, and again, we are excited to continue the effort and energy that we're spending on College Town Magic. And this is the last piece of our puzzle, is to move that print mail business out of the Turpin Building and over to new locations. Any questions?
Any questions or thoughts? Wonderful. And I will say this did come in front of the master plan committee who reviewed it and studied the space. Thank you for your extra efforts on that and supported. So with that, there a motion to approve the design and construction of new print, mail, and receiving services building.
So,
Second? Thank you, Bert. We have a motion and a second. Any debate or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you, Jen. Appreciate you and all the team's effort. Trying to figure that out. Item number 4.05, temporary clinic at West Valley. I'd like to invite Dan Undergan, CEO of University Hospitals and Clinics, Aisha Jensen, Associate Executive Director of System Planning for Hospitals and Clinics.
I'll turn the time over to Aisha, but just appreciation. This is a strong message to the community for the Eccles Health Campus. And so Aisha will go through the details of that, but a continuous support for this role for all of the
Thank you all for having us. We can talk about the temporary clinic without giving a little bit of a preview of how the project overall is going. So we wanted to be able to show some of those visuals in great partnership with the campus facilities and Jim Russell. Our team has been working diligently to be able to continue this project on this timeline. I'm happy to say also within budget. And so as you can see, these are even outdated at this point. It is going more vertical every day, and we are excited to be able to see that. We are still continuing on track with budget. We are still continuing on track with timeline, and community partnership is still top of mind. Just continue to have those routine collaborations, which is so wonderful. Next slide. So why do we do a temporary clinic? This is something that we have done historically in the healthcare delivery system for a number of our other sites like South Jordan or our Farmington Center. What this does is it allows us to have a community presence before or actually a permanent clinic is up and running. That provides financial support, but also really helps support with recruitment for physicians and the team members that are going to be working there, but also really establishing that primary motivating factor, which is being present within the community, as Dan mentioned. The sooner we can be present within the community providing care, the longer that relationship will be and the easier it will be to transition over into the permanent building. So this is a picture of our South Jordan temporary clinic that we have, very similar to what this temporary clinic could potentially look like as we start to build it out on that West Valley site. Next slide. This is an outline of where this would be and how it would function. As you all are aware, we have about 22 acres that the hospital and health center are being built on right now. That's in the red. The yellow is the land that was approved here previously that talked through the additional 6 acres that will connect and be adjacent that the university now owns. This temporary clinic will be in this small place here, right in between the two. That is very strategic. It allows us to be able to partner with some of the infrastructure components that are coming into the site, as well as being able to ensure that we are transitioning those functions very easily, being on the site as well. This, as they are completely trailers, trailer based, we will be functioning within the mindset of making sure that it is safe care within the community, meaning that there are some limitations in terms of the care that we can provide. We can't do any type of care that has extensive equipment needs or large teams. We can't do anything that requires an imaging because they are actually trailers, but we have aligned all of the clinical practices that would be in these trailers to those practices that would be in the permanent clinic as well. So we want to make sure that we have that alignment so that staff and providers and patients, after they're seen in the temporary clinic, when that permanent clinic is open, can transition. So another benefit of this is that as we do this project, these are actually, owned assets of the university. We're able to reuse them for a long period of time. They have a usable life of more than 10 years. So this is a great investment in the long term as we look to other needs within the health system after the permanent West Valley Clinic is open, we'll be able to repurpose them. And it really gives us the flexibility to continue to provide that access where we need it and when we need it. Next slide. So this is just a summary to give a little bit of details of the actual clinic. It's about 12,000 square feet. It's the largest temporary clinic we've ever done. That is in alignment and in proportion with the permanent building. That is going to have a cost of about just under $9 million, all of which, except for about 250,000, is actually either part of the infrastructure that's coming to the site or repurposable. So the only thing that's really a sunk cost in this project are the foundational pillars that the trailers are actually going to be sitting on. That's only about 250,000. So we feel like it's a very good investment in the long term for the economy, for our patients overall. So thank you. Any questions?
Cheryl just commented the hospital board is supportive of this, especially because of just comments so and usually some costs. So it's relocatable. It's lots of stuff.
Thank you.
How long does it take to get that up and running? And I didn't realize it was going to be trailers, so that answered a bunch of my questions.
Yeah,
I got the $8 million.
part I missed is when is it going to be available? So we're working diligently to meet that we'll be able to actually open these trailers in March to April of next year, which gives us that ramp up of about 18 months prior to that permanent ambulatory portion of the project opening up. And then again, they have a shelf life and usable life of more than 10 years after that.
I didn't see that all coming together. And glad I hit that. But I know that all in that area.
medical care right there in the middle. So, thank you for that. So we have a motion to approve moving forward with the structural implementation of the West Valley temporary. Is there sound? Wait a second. You ready? Having a motion and a second, any debate or discussion? None, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Thank you. Yes, there's all kinds of good news. Item 4.06. New health system of regional campus development. I'd like to invite Executive Vice President for Health Sciences, Dr. Bob Carter, to present on it.
Thank you, Chair Eccles. As you just heard, we were talking about one of our regional campuses, the Eccles Health Hospital and Health Campus in West Valley. This board has previously also approved a regional campus in Vineyard focused on cancer. Today, I'm discussing with you the desire for us to acquire property that will allow us to have a regional campus in the southern part of the valley. The idea here is to bring care closer to home for individuals who are in the southern part of Salt Lake Valley. We know that growth is imperative because the state is growing and the health system likewise has found significant demand from that region of this area. We also feel that this is a well-positioned area to support not only our Vineyard campus, but also our West Valley campus in terms of a regional health campus as well. We've had evaluation studies done on this property, which is at the site of the former prison. It's known as the Point. It's a roughly $43.5 million acquisition price. We've discussed this extensively with our real estate development team and worked with the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority to secure this property. So what we're seeking today, in terms of the next slide, approval is Board of Trustees approval to purchase 46 acres of land at that site for University of Utah Health Clinical Campus and clinical activities and research.
Questions? Well, with that, thank you for that. We have a motion, and I have a motion to approve the purchase of this 46 acres of land at the Point for future U Health clinical usage. Sam? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any debate or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you so much. I'd just like to turn now to the intent agenda, where we're going to gather some information, but we'll not deliberate it today on it. All can be aware that the Utah State Legislature recently updated the Higher Education Code, which the new requirements for the Board of Trustees to approve university's annual budget. While we've long delegated authority over the U hospitals, we've long had the authority to look at the U hospitals and clinics budget. This broader oversight is requirement is due for us. So today we're going to review the hospital and clinics budget as well as the ARUP budget. And then we will defer board action until our next meeting when we consider the university's full budget. And then we expect to vote on that full budget at that time. So at the moment, we will then invite Dan Lundergan back up with Charlton Park, our Assistant CFO Officer for the University Hospitals and Clinics, present 5.01.
I'll just start out saying, appreciate, I don't know, Dr. Carter, if you want to, a few words or.
Just want to thank the team for a lot of work bringing together a truly comprehensive budget. Charlton Park's team in association with Dan Lundergan have made a great effort on this. And so we hope that we'll find this a positive budget.
And we appreciate the time that we've spent with the Board of Trustees prior to this. I think that's been a very useful time to have done that historically. The board deeper dive conversation occurred. So this is really a lot of summaries I'd be open for questions. So Carlton, I really appreciate the support of leader of the.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. And as mentioned, this has gone through the health system board, and I appreciate the time we spent with many of you reviewing elements of this budget. So this is focused on the hospitals and clinics segment of the health system. But we wanted to start with kind of our connection to the Impact 2030 strategy, and particularly the values that are part of the 2030 Impact 2030. And these are a few of the many merit badges that the health system has that kind of go along with the inspiring students, accelerate the self-discovery, serve communities, promote well-being, being entrepreneurial and amplifying place that we're proud to really support and within the health system. This is a slide just to acknowledge with Dr. Carter's leadership how the health system is coming together. Again, this budget is the hospitals and clinics, and then ARUP will come next. But under Dr. Carter's leadership, for the first time ever, we are planning together as an entire health system, including the two colleges and the two schools and 3 colleges and health sciences. We're starting with the same budget guidance. We're setting goals together, and we're building the budgets together. This has been a great process, bringing the health system closer. As far as hospitals and clinics goes, budget goes, we start with our volume growth. These are the high-level statistics that really drive our budget in the hospitals and clinics. Our inpatient statistics of patient days and discharges, outpatient with clinic visits and professional RVUs, and then we've got our emergency room visits and surgical cases. The hospitals and clinics is capacity constrained. We've talked about West Valley, we're talking about acquiring additional land. The need for growth is apparent. In this budget year, we're adding no new capacity. So this growth that you see, 3.8% patient days, 3% outpatient visits, 3% surgical, and then the professional RVU is growing a little more quickly because that's beyond the footprint of just the hospitals and clinics, is constrained because we need more capacity. So we're really working on throughput and efficiency in order to get this 3 to 4% growth within our budget. As we take a look at operating revenue, you can see sizable increases in revenue over the years. We're budgeting a growth of just over $100 million in total operating revenue. Other operating revenue variance going down is related to that the 340B program and some of the challenges with the Inflation Reduction Act that are impacting the revenues within our pharmacy program. But you can see that substantial growth that's happened over the past 7-8 years, and we look to continue that growth within this next fiscal year, and as we open up new West Valley and expand the health system in the future. Personnel expense, one of the largest expenses within the hospitals and clinics. More than 50% of our spend are people. It's also our most critical, most important asset. So there's significant FTE growth within this budget, 840, 5.6% growth there. And then we've got compensation adjustments. We've got a 3.5% increase to keep the market competitive built with the budget. We've got additional benefit expense that is built into this budget. And then just the volume impact, salaries, wages, and benefits will go up just under $200 million in this budget. One of the ways we measure that to kind of keep it within a good reference point is salaries and wages as a percent of our overall operating revenue. We're going to keep that between 30 and 36% if we do that in this budget. Non-personnel expense, the other drivers, drugs and medicine, virtual services, supplies, all the non-personnel expenses. Here we continue to see substantial growth in our pharmaceutical business. This is a big expense, but it's also a good expense because it drives margin. Supply expense with a 2.9% increase. We're keeping that within check. And we monitor as well their growth relative to the overall. As we roll the revenues and expenses up together, this is a view you may be familiar with as we look at the different entities or kind of bricks and mortar units within the hospitals and clinics. We have our corporate overhead that gets allocated to all the units, but the Cancer Hospital, Huntsman Cancer Hospital, Huntsman Mental Health Institute, Mara and Eye Center, Nielsen Rehab. Our professional work within this budget, there are 5 of the clinical departments that have integrated with the hospitals and clinics. Those are represented there. The community clinics, the orthopedic hospital, and university hospital. Bringing it all together, we're budgeting a $303 million operating margin for fiscal 27. That's a 6.5% operating margin. This is just a view again of the total operating revenues eclipsing 4.6 billion in the budget year on operating gain of just over $300 million. Here's the growth of the margin in the gray over the years, and that operating margin percentage kind of up and down over the years as it fluctuates with the business. Next slide. This is just a little bit of an eye chart, but a fun benchmarking comparison. This comparison group is academic medical centers that are on a contiguous, share a contiguous campus with their university. There's about 25 of us, and I've got the majority of those laid out here. But we kind of see how the University of Utah compares with these other academic medical centers that share a campus with a main campus. The top being operating margin performance. You can see, you can kind of see the Moody's benchmarks. The University of Utah outperforms the operating margin benchmarks by a good space. But when it comes to days cash on hand, is below the benchmark, and then non-operating revenue doesn't really exist. So use this slide to emphasize why we really need to drive a strong operating margin within the hospitals and clinics in order to reinvest in our capital plan and expansion plans. And again, we are doing this in the budget year. We have a budget well above the Moody's benchmarks that we intend to be able to perform and meet those margin targets in order to fund our growth plan. Risks and concerns, I've mentioned a few of these. Capacity, we really are focused on efficiency and throughput in order to squeeze more volume out of the existing bricks and mortar. The Inflation Reduction Act is having an impact. The government setting maximum prices, which lowers our opportunity to generate margin through some of our pharmaceutical programs. We continue to see downward pressure on reimbursement from the payers after getting some substantial gains coming out of the pandemic. Those are all but gone, and we're back to the 2.5% increases that are barely or not even keeping up with inflation. So that's some headwinds there. Provider recruitment. It's in many of our specialties very hard to attract and retain some specialists. We'll continue to be focused there. Making a lot of investments in technology. We talked about AI, a lot of business and applications within the health system, and we're making investments there that's helping with some of our overhead costs as well as our throughput and other efficiency goals. And really aligning our resources and growth is what we're focused on in this budget year. Strategies that are in place for capacity management, throughput, really focused on productivity benchmarks in all our units to make sure we're as efficient as possible. Mentioned our AI investments, integrated planning across the hospital, clinics, the School of Medicine, and all the clinical elements of the schools and colleges. And then a real focus on provider compensation to make sure that we're this is a view of the approved project timeline. These are all projects that have come through, the board has been approved. We're really excited about the ED renovation that's just been kicked off, and then Vineyard and the West Valley campus that is underway. There are several other projects that are in the works and being discussed with the health system board that will hopefully in time be in front of the Board of Trustees for approval. So we'll be hopefully adding some additional projects to this timeline in the coming months. And this is the budget, bringing it all together. This is the consolidating view with all of the entities, but $4.6 billion revenue, 4.3275 operating expense with the operating margins of $303.3 million, 6.5% for fiscal 27. One more slide. which is one that Chair Eccles asked about when we met. This is really the resources and commitments of the hospitals and clinics. You can see that $300 million operating margin. You ask yourself, that's a lot of margin. What's that for? On the left here, we have the resources that we're creating, our revenues, expenses, and there's that margin of just over 300 million. Then we add back depreciation, which is a non-cash item, and a little bit of state appropriations the health system receives for the resident programs. Brings us to resources we plan to create in fiscal 27 of $470 million. And on the right side are all the commitments against those resources, the margin and the other cash, the resources will create. We've got an annual debt service of just under $120 million. We've got a regular annual capital commitments of just under $140 million. These capital commitments are really to keep the lights on, replacing equipment as it fails and it needs to be replaced, those types of things. And then we've got our non-clinical transfer obligations of just over $70 million. That's the HCI MOUs and other education transfers, obligations on the hospitals and clinics. And then we have a goal of improving our days cash. You saw the reference to where we're way below benchmark as far as days cash on hand. Right now, the hospitals and clinics is about at 66 days. Benchmarks are around 240. So we want to add 8 days within that budget, kind of incrementally get up to at least the 100-day mark for the next few years. And then we've got a capital investment building fund, and this is really aligning some of the pharmacy margin with some of our building plans for some of the land that we talked about. All in all our resources, all the commitments, and that margin generated, and then it is committed and spent in order to these commitments. So, any questions? Yes. It's sorry to move so quickly, and most of you have seen the report.
How do you add 8 days?
8 days is
8 days cash. How do you get
it is whirling away.
We get up for-
Yeah, it's whirling away $92 million, retaining that on the balance sheet. And really, because we're expanding, our expense footprint is growing as we grow as a system. We have to squirrel away more money on the balance sheet just to stay at 66 days. Because every year a day gets more and more expensive. So we need to add more cash to the balance sheet.
What's the thing to it right now?
It's at about 66. And so it's just under $10 million.
Understanding that I'm not an expert on healthcare finances or efficiencies, are there departments that are performing below industry benchmarks? For example, I saw orthopedics looked like it was like a 3.9% margin or something of that nature. And my uneducated understanding is that orthopedics is typically on the higher margin size. HMHI, if you'll keep going up, a system always subsidizes the mental and behavioral health care, and as it should. And I'm grateful that it does. I was just surprised that orthopedics didn't have a higher margin.
Yeah, so great question. And within all of these units, you're going to have different departments that are performing better or worse than benchmark. And that's really what I've pointed out here is we're really focused on productivity across the board. When it comes to the orthopedic center, this is really the orthopedic center in Research Park, right? It's a largely ambulatory outpatient facility. There's more orthopedics that happens in University Hospital than happens at the orthopedic center measured by revenue. This is not a real view of our orthopedic program. Our orthopedic program is a profitable margin driving program. We look at this different ways. This is really just the bricks and mortar view of the world. But to your question about productivity, hospitals and clinics represents about 1,300 works departments. We benchmark each one of those clinical operating units separately against peers, and there's opportunities for improvement in each one of those. And that's really what I talked about driving the performance based on the comparisons, trying to make improvements everywhere.
Trustee Shumway, I might also add that, the downward pressure on professional fees compared to technical fees has been more extreme in the last decade. So what you're finding, for example, Medicare this last year said we're going to move 2.5% away from specialists like orthopedics, et cetera, over into primary care, which writ large is probably a good thing for population health, but at the same time changes the dynamic for some of those historically super performing departments as well.
Questions or comments? Well, thank you for that. We'll have another opportunity to look at this briefly before we vote with the, over the university budget as a whole. Thank you. It's a lot of work. I mean, the complexity of the hospital clinics is amazing. And tracking all of those finances. I'm sure we've got a foot on a rock, so thank you.
Thank you, Chair Echols. And yes, there's literally hundreds of leaders within the hospital clinics to help build this. So a lot of work's gone into this. Appreciate it.
And then we'll turn to hear about the ARUP budget, but I wanted to give a little history about this fantastic organization. More than 40 years ago, ARUP was established, and I've never known what it stood for. Associated Regional and University Pathologists, and it was established by university faculty members, the nonprofit enterprise of the U and its Department of Pathology. First CEO was Dr. John Matson, who simultaneously served as chair of the department. And today, as we all are well aware, it is a leading national academic reference laboratory. And we're so proud of this vital part of our institution and the impact it has had and continues to have on the people of our state and across the country and the globe. Just an amazing resource and an amazing business that you do to give it care of people. Everyone here has used ARP, whether they know it or not, I'm sure. So thank you. We look forward to hearing from you. I'm inviting Kent Gordon, CFO of ARUP, and Ian McNeil, Director of Finance at ARUP.
And Jim kicks off. And I'll kick this off, that's okay. Although Chair Eccles, you kind of stole my thunder.
I'm so sorry. No, it was just a teaser.
The teaser. So my name is Andy Tyre. I know some of you from way past. It's good to see you. I'm the CEO of ARUP Laboratories. I've been around ARUP for some time. I've seen it from its infancy to where it is today. And my job is just to give you a bit of a background of what ARUP is, and then Kent Gordon, our CFO, will give you some of the financial numbers, if that's okay. So, as Chair Eccles said, it was really started. So the reason it was started in 1985 is there was a change in how laboratory medicine was being pushed. And laboratory medicine was tucked into a diagnostic related group, which is how it is, in many cases, inpatient is reimbursed today. And those people that were running the Department of Pathology went, uh-oh, how are we going to have any money come to pathology to support pathologists? So they had this idea, let's start a regional lab and see if we can drive some other testing into the Department of Pathology, run by the Department of Pathology. So we spun out, if you will, out of the university hospital, but not out of the university. It was organized as a for-profit at the time entity, and we went out to Intermountain and other folks in the region, try to entice them to send testing to this fantastic laboratory. So that's what happened. Now, all these years, 42 years later, here we are. We do a tremendous amount of laboratory testing today. I'm expecting about 115,000 patient samples from all over the country. About 90% of that work comes from outside the state of Utah. The other 10%, we do the University of Utah, we get Intermountain, Common Spirit, many of the large systems out in our youth here and across the country sends laboratory testing. To give you an understanding of what a reference laboratory is, most hospitals have a laboratory within there, usually in the basement. They do about 90% of the work. So if you get them into a hospital in Florida, testing will be ordered, about 90% of the work will be done right there in the hospital. And about 10% they refer to another laboratory, reference laboratory. And that's what we are. There are 4 of us in the country: Laboratory Corporation of America, Quest Diagnostics, Mayo Clinical Laboratories. ERUPs are really one of 4 major reference laboratories across the country that perform this reference laboratory work. We've got a workforce here of about 5,000. All of our operations are here in Salt Lake City, the majority in Research Park. We have moved the company from a for-profit several years ago to a Utah nonprofit because we do so much education. We educate med students, residents, pathology fellows, even undergraduates in medical laboratory science. There's a lot of research. And we do a lot of education and a lot of footage in ERP in conjunction with pathology. And when you think about ERP, what is it? A lot of students, what's this business within the university? Just like we have the hospital, there's the clinical arm, really, of the clinical practice of the med school. ARP is the clinical practice of pathology, if you will. And it works very well. We do a lot of work for the University Hospital. As I said, most hospitals have their own laboratory. The only laboratory that we actually operate, is our own University Hospital. So we run that laboratory. All other laboratories that we service, they have their own laboratory, because we just, the work, they don't have the expertise or experience or equipment to do. Although really technical stuff to know this. So that's kind of background of what ARUP is. I'll turn the time to Kent, and he'll talk a little bit about the numbers, and then we'll ask any questions, answer any questions.
All right, great to be with you today. Kent Gordon, the CFO of ARUP Laboratories. And we'll dive into some numbers. This is a very high level. We'll start with just our revenue and non-operating income. And what we're projecting for new year is about 6% growth. We just last week for this fiscal year passed $1 billion of sales for the first time. And we're projecting to be at about $1.1 billion next year. In our other income, we're projecting a slight decrease, as well as in our non-operating income slight decrease. So overall, 6% growth, which is about $64 million. You see some little graphs here. Here's the 5-year trend of laboratory revenue. We continue to grow. Look at it zoomed out, a little different perspective on that in a second. And then on the left side there, we've got just some business units, verticals, if you will, that are within our business. Andy kind of described some of that. Reference laboratory is the bulk of our business, as he indicated, about 90%. But we also, our biggest, most important client continues to be University of Utah. And we enjoy a great relationship with them, getting stronger all the time. We really, as Charlton mentioned and others, we've begun to team up in a different way, in a better way. And we learn so much from each other because we have a perfect laboratory, if you will, for what all of our other clients across the country are experiencing in their health systems, trying to promote health and move forward with So these verticals, we've got university, and then we have an innovations business unit that is going after the new and upcoming technologies. We're forging relationships with large partners across the country in health sciences, and that's just in its infancy. That's been started about 2 years ago, and it's just beginning to grow. So next, this is, I think, an interesting slide. This looks back at our entire history in terms of our revenue, our growth of revenue. As Andy indicated, when we started back in 1985, our first client was University of Utah, and that was all of our business. It was 100% of our business. And then slowly over time, we just grew and grew and grew. And as Andy indicated, we now receive samples from every state in the union, and the level of that is 100,000 plus per day that comes in, and we have to sort that out and get the work done for those patients across the country. And as you see, pretty steep growth here in the last few years. We had a little bit of a decline as we came out of COVID, but then since then, it's been very strong growth. We've got really strong traction in the marketplace. We differentiate ourselves from those large competitors by the quality of our work. We take care of our clients in a more patient-focused way than our competitors. We're out to help those health systems that we work with to be the best that they can be, so that they're performing well, they're taking care of their patients. We take care of them, taking care of their patients, We understand that relationship, have a better, stronger tie to them than any of our competitors. If you look up net promoter scores across the country for reference laboratories, we lead the pack by far because of the way we do business with our clients. Next, just a simple slide on the expenses, just meant to be very high level. The way we manage our business and look at it is in kind of four major categories. We have all the testing itself. And as you recall from the revenue slide, we're showing about 6% growth. In all of our expense areas, we're trying to leverage that and grow it at a little bit slower rate than the revenue. Trying to expand our margin, which we have been doing over the last few years. So in testing, we're budgeting for about 4.4% growth, about $26 million. And then in our support area, this is, you can imagine that having clients all over the country, one of the challenges we have is to get those specimens to us in the right condition quickly so that we can do the test and have a quick turnaround time for the physicians and their patients who are waiting for a result. And so within that area is our support, includes logistics, our client services, and specimen handling once the specimen gets here. So we're showing that at a low growth. Might look at that and say, wow, that's pretty amazing growing, you know, a little less than 1%. We have some big initiatives in terms of efficiencies that are really going to impact this area. We're very excited about. Our overhead about 2.5%. Again, we're trying to leverage that and be as efficient as possible. So overall, about 4% growth in expenses. You can see the graphs at the bottom, just take three broad areas and show what the trends have been over the last years, with the bars being the actuals and the blue lines, the budget for those years. Our capital budget for the new year is about $61 million. This is broken up into our equipment, being about $8 million, excuse me, about $18 million into this area. We are a very capital intensive business in terms of instrumentation. And with all the growth that we're experiencing, we're constantly having to add new analyzers to support the volume that's coming in, as well as keep up with technologies and improvements that are happening within the field. We also tied into that. You can think of us really as a big software company in a way. We deal in information. We're electronically connected to all of our clients across the country so that we can get quick, accurate test results to them as quickly as possible. But it takes a lot of software development. We have internal teams that develop software as well as purchase software. And you see that we're plowing in about $10 million there. The facilities, we have a constant need to update our facilities. As we grow, we're having to expand labs and change the configuration of labs. And we've got about $19 million budgeted there. We're also looking at an acquisition of an adjacent building within the research park there. That's to support a strategy for improvement of our specimen process. And that is it from a high level. Any questions?
Can you show us again what revenue was projected? So, what's the margin on if expenses are 1.2?
So our margin, we are targeting about 12% margin for the new year. We are projected to hit 10% margin, a little bit over 10% margin this year. That's just a little bit more than $100 million margin on the business for this year, and expanding that to about
I chat GPT this during the meeting. LabCorp is doing 9.9% margin, Flex is doing 14% margin, so you're right in the middle.
Right. We do extensive comparisons to our competitors. We took those slides out and in some time, we got similar to the university, but we have a smaller field that we compare ourselves to, but we measure ourselves on probably 30 different benchmarks against those competitors. And we are in the hunt with them on both top line and bottom line but we outperformed them by far in terms of return on assets, return on equity, some of those other efficiency models, we kind of smoked the field. My verbiage on that, but we do well.
We understood,
But we
we
pay,
understood that technically.
yeah, we pay a lot of attention to that, and our competitors are strong, they make us better. We love them, we hate them. They're all clients of ours as well. We sell a lot of business to Clapper in particular, a lot of work with them. Other questions?
Thank you so much. Appreciate learning more.
I'll just take a few minutes here to recognize the passing of an exceptional woman, Karen Hughes. The matriarch of the husband family, a woman of great intelligence, conviction, determination, strength, and generosity. She studied here at the U, where she was a member of the Chi Omega sorority, and she went on to serve the state on the Utah Board of Regents, where she contributed to the advancement of higher education across the state. And I was pleased that in 2022, we were able to honor her, the Doctor of Humane Letters from this institution, for her extraordinary commitment to improving the lives of people across Utah. And of course, Karen and her late husband John were at the heart and soul of the creation of the Huntsman Cancer Institute here at the University of Utah. And more recently, she's been involved in the development of the Huntsman Mental Health Institute. These are very important institutions for our state, and I think have benefited and touched the lives of every single one of us, along with thousands, millions of others. Her impact, legacy, or are felt here on campus every day, and she will be deeply missed. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I'd like to extend our sincere condolences to you, Christina, and to all the rest of your family. Thank you very much. We had a but you they love her. Not to be able to carry on that. Yes. Turning back to the business, we have honorary degree nominations are open. So hope everyone will be thinking of and consider nominating individuals for the university's highest honor. Nominees should demonstrate distinction in professional achievement, public or community service, and or meaningful engagement with the university. And they can be submitted online or through the board's honors committee, which was chaired by Jamie, but will now be chaired by Amy Frampton, who's our incoming trustee, replacing Jamie as the president of the U Alumni Board of Governors. Look forward to that. I'd like everyone to save August 12th for a morning 10 o'clock grand opening of the Utes Productions. That the full name, Utes Productions. It's a new broadcast center for athletics and communications department opening in the languages and communications building. It's going to be a wonderful new place to use by athletics and as ESPN and other networks for broadcasting things out of this university. There'll be state-of-the-art facilities and will include a podcast room and other areas for students to also be developing their school skills in broadcasting and production. So I love that this is a great example of collaboration, of real world experience, connections with the workforce outside of this space, bringing excellence to our production and out to the real world learning opportunities to our students. So look forward to that and say that date on August 12th. And now we also have to bid farewell to Jamie Sorensen. We appreciate your service these past couple of years. I've loved being on Campus Master Plan with you. You've always been thoughtful, insightful, always bringing that perspective of our alums through their lifelong journey as alums, students, and learners here at the University of Utah. You've been here during exciting times. So we've had a couple of years of unprecedented change on the landscape of higher education and facility, as well as on our campus specifically. This is one, but there are many other places that we really had to dig in. And you stepped up every time, been thoughtful, insightful, and really been engaged in trying to find real working solutions to support this institution so that we can fulfill our mission. So thank you for that service. We're sad to see you go. But I would like to ask Trustee Doman if he would read an acknowledgement of you.
If I refuse to read it.
Yeah.
Jamie, thank you for your leadership as both president of the alumni board, trustees, your as a thought leader and a leader of action. And personally, I'd like to thank you for your mentorship and most importantly, leadership. A resolution of appreciation for Jamie Sorensen. Now, there's some big words in here, but you're an attorney, so I think you'll understand. So whereas Jamie Sorensen has served as president of the U Alumni Board of Governors and as a member of the University of Utah Board of Trustees from 2024 to 2026, representing the U alumni constituency, now more than 300,000 strong worldwide with integrity, purpose, and commitment. Whereas Jamie modeled collaborative leadership as president of U alumni, serving as a trusted advisor to university staff, a strong advocate for both alumni and students, and a generous partner in advancing programs and initiatives that strengthen connection, belonging, and engagement across the alumni community. Whereas Jamie brought diplomacy and discretion to his role as chair of the board's honors committee, guiding complex and high-profile recognition processes with care and sound judgment, ensuring outcomes that reflect the university's values and honor its most distinguished individuals. Whereas he continued meaningfully as a member of the board's campus master planning committee, offering insightful and practical feedback that helps shape long-term decisions impacting the university's physical environment and future growth. Whereas he also served as an engaged member of the university's Athletics Advisory Council, where his consistent participation, receptive questions, and constructive feedback fostered a collegial environment and supportive initiatives to enhance the experience and success of student athletes. Whereas he demonstrated a commitment to continuous learning and effective governance through his participation in the Association of Governing Boards conferences, furthering strengthening his contributions as a well-prepared and informed trustee. Whereas he has been an effective ambassador and liaison between university leadership and the global alumni community, drawing on years of service that began with the Student Alumni Board and continued through his presidency of the Young Alumni Board, followed by 6 years of leadership on the Board of Governors. Whereas Jamie's legacy is marked by deep loyalty to the University of Utah and dedication to advancing its long-term success and strength of its alumni communities. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the University of Utah expresses its sincere gratitude to Jamie Sorensen for his generous service, leadership, and dedication, and acknowledges that programs, partnerships, and community he helped strengthen will continue to benefit the university. The board extends its best wishes for continued success and fulfillment.
To say a couple of things, this is certainly, that's really awkward. I appreciate it. When you join a group like this, you certainly feel inadequate to the task. And it's just been a pleasure to work with these trustees. They're bright, they're talented, and they're committed to this university. And people ask me, what has it been like serving on the board? And I tell them, been like a master class in how people interact and how to present ideas, how to make decisions, and how to do them in a way that is constructive and helpful. So for that, I thank the trustees for inviting me and welcoming me, helping me be a part of it. So that's been just a tremendous thing. As Kurt mentioned, I've been involved with U alumni for a number of years now, and I love that group. I love the staff. For those who don't know Chris Bosman, you should know her. She is doing a wonderful job, and she is taking U alumni to where it needs to go. And I advocate for her continued support as she plays that role. And to Amy and Glenn, who I followed, I treasure their friendships and hope to continue to be friends with them. And Heidi, your leadership over that team has just been wonderful, and I've enjoyed working with you. Finally, to Karen and Chris and Jeff and Troy and Annalisa, you've made this a wonderful experience. And lastly, to Dr. Carter, Provost Montoya, and the other hand, I think one of the things that you could do, or the best thing you can do for alumni, is to make a university they can be proud of. And you have done that in spades. This is a university I'm very proud to be a part of. I'm excited for the future and just thankful to just serve and be a part of this group. Thank you.
Jamie, I just, one of the highlights of I think your service here was a comment I received from a faculty member who serves on the honorary degree committee. And she said specifically the way Jamie handled the deliberations, which are, you know, across the country, sometimes difficult to make those choices. She said it reinstated my confidence in the way higher education honors and respects and develops humanity. So I haven't heard that in a long time. So thank you. That was an amazing comment.
We're gonna do our, yeah.
That is great, actually.
Oh, yeah, out there.
Uncomfortably close to each other.
They're pretty good at this.
There we go.
I just feel like if we don't do that.
They always get the chair.
Prom style.
It's 3, 4, 5, 6. Now.
Finally, everyone's relieved to know my portion is primarily open.
Hey, you've done a great job, Chair Nichols. I am going to be really brief on administrative reports. It has all been posted. A couple things to note. Jenny Meyer Glenn, our incredible leader at University Neighborhood Partners, will be retiring in June. University Neighborhood Partners was formed, I believe, under President Bernie Mason to try to reach out to communities that had I would say lower college attending rates, and it has been delivering for decades of services to those communities. And Jenny will be missed. She leaves a long legacy of development and growth, and so we appreciate her. Of the many things we talked about, we did want to pause and talk about one. We are in a current drought situation, and I want to turn some time over to our Chief Operating Officer, Jeff Labrum, to describe the strategies that the University of Utah is employing, try to provide some help, particularly to the drought and hopefully the long-term sustainability of our Great Salt Lake that we need.
Thank you, President. Appreciate you making just a little bit of time here on the agenda. I'm also going to have Lisa Larson just come stand up here. She does this full time, all day, every day, and certainly talk about in detail. As you're aware, summer is here. It's hot. And we certainly live in drought conditions. And so as a university, we wanted you to be aware of the things we're thinking about, things that we're doing. And we feel like as a university that we always lead out in innovation and everything that we do. And this is an area that we have responsibility and an opportunity to lead out in as well. We also know this is an area that people are very passionate about. Students, faculty, staff, users of the university have a lot of thoughts and opinions about water usage, specifically when it comes to landscaping here on campus. For just a little bit of context, I think it's helpful in having this discussion. We have about 1,500 acres that we manage. That is used by about 50 to 70,000 people a day. Those 50 to 70,000 users include students, faculty, using it for leisure, sports, fun, rehab, trauma, all kinds of different uses for campus here. And we also want to just make note that we are the state's designated arboretum. And so we have about 12,000 trees that we're responsible for. So as we manage water and water usage up here, we also want to be sensitive to those needs of individuals and the responsibilities we have. So just as a quick overview, I'll highlight just a couple of things that we're doing and then we'll welcome any questions. So we have adopted what we call water-wise practices here at the university. That would include things like reducing non-functional turf. You can think of turf that students and people like to use to run around on, play football, throw the frisbee. And you can think of parking strips and others that are probably not functional. So we are in the process of making those changes of reducing non-functional turf over time. We're also expanding our water-wise landscaping. So obviously we have 1,500 acres. That can't all be done in one day, but we're in the process of doing that. And every new building that we build is required to meet those requirements. We're also deploying technology where we can. It's not the first time I've heard, hey, did you know it's raining and there's a sprinkler on? If you drive down your own neighborhood streets, you could probably accuse some of your neighbors of that. We have 1,500 acres that we're trying to keep an eye on. So we are implementing technology to help with those things. Also, a side note, we do have a hotline. If there's ever something that you notice, please give us a call. We'd like to be aware of those types of things. And then we continue to use drought tolerant materials and plants across the university. So we are 100% supportive of the state, the efforts that are underway. We certainly feel like there is much to do and we are headed in the right direction with many more things that we can do and anticipate doing. These efforts are a key component of our university's campus master planning efforts. And as mentioned, Alyssa here to my side, Alyssa here is over our energy and sustainability as a whole. So again, wanting you to be aware of some of the things we're doing. I won't take you through a deep dive, but we are aware of and sensitive to, and want to make progress in our water usage. One of the things that I might point you to is that large water users in the state, and large would be categorized as those serving more than 5 acres, are required to report their data to the Division of Water Resources. That's a publicly available site. We also report there. Just so you know, the university uses less than 2% of the water, and we're not even in the top 30 users. That's not an excuse, but to just say that efforts are underway, and we continue to make progress towards these goals. So anyway, it's a focus, it's an effort, and we want to make sure that the trustees and others will prepare those things we have. So appreciate the time.
We will continue to keep you posted. I know often legislatively we do report water usage. They actually asked us to have reduction targets that come up. This part of the legislature that we do that. Anyway. So we'll continue to keep an eye on it.
I personally appreciate because I've been bugging President Randall about this, you addressing this, because I do think as the flagship university, we should set the example for others to follow. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks. That ends my report. Echoes.
Well, we always love hearing from all of our reports from our representatives and our students. Today, though, in the essence of time, we are going to unfortunately just refer you to the reports in your folders and then our reports on board docs. And hopefully next time we'll get to hear directly from everyone. There's also an information agenda there, which doesn't require any action, but again, it's to be informative and
the Board of Trustees.
With that, are there any additional information or announcements? Seeing none, thank you all for participating today. Our next regular meeting is August 11th. We have a little holiday in July. And I'll motion to adjourn.